What up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to fix our hopefully final leak. We already got stuff in the engine fixed. We got the new fuel lines in there, and now I got another leak, and hopefully it's the last one. It's actually pretty rotted here. I'll show you this real quick. Pretty sick, huh? So that's actually my return line, and it just drips. It drips a lot of fuel, and I'm putting it everywhere, all over the road, all over the back end of my truck, everything. So at least it won't all rust with the diesel fuel getting on there. Now that fitting is pressed in, so the only way to fix that is to put a new pumping unit in. So I bought one of those. I will put a link in the description for you guys and all the parts and tools that I use like normal. And then let's get to this video because I want to get this thing squared away and no more leaks. I want to park this thing on our cement slab. This concrete's only about 2 years old, and I can't do that with a bunch of diesel leaks. So let's get to it. Alright, here's the sending unit that I bought. Pull this out of the package here. That's the float for your fuel. Tells you how high level you got. Your sensor gets plugged in right there, so it's nice and simple. And then the nipples on top. This one right here, the return line is leaking on myself. So we'll get that all in there. Also came with the gasket, which is pretty sweet. And then I don't know if I'm going to need it or not, but I did also end up buying the plate that holds it all into place too as well. So I'll leave the link in the description for those. So let's get this box off real quick, and we'll show you what we're looking at. All right, let's get these off. This connector is nice and easy. You just push down on this tab, you pull it right out. This right here is going to be a 5/16 nut driver or a flathead, and this just pulls right out. These two are going to be the difficult ones. We'll do those last. This one's a 1/2 inch one. You just put it right on there, just like that, and you push it off. This one should be easy. It was the newest connector here. Like I said, these ones are the hardest ones to do. GM kind of screwed us a little bit on that. Basically, put a flathead screwdriver, pop this off, pull the clip out. Much like the video that we did in the lines that we replaced earlier, these same connectors are right here. So let's get those out real quick. Sometimes you got to work these ones pretty good. I'm just going to put a screwdriver in here, kind of clean out some of that crust a little bit. You can see that it is moving a little bit. Trying to get a pair of pliers on there. This is actually for the vent for your tank. Vents back into your vent. All right, now that that's finally off, that took me a hot minute. All I did was just using my pliers and my screwdriver, kind of just shove it in there a little bit, cleaning it a little bit out, and then taking the pliers, moving her back and forth, and then with all my weight, just kind of pulling it out on there. So you don't want to go too hard. You don't want to rip this. This is a pre-bent tube, as you can see. If you have to replace that, it wouldn't be too bad if you just kind of cut it and put the new one back on there. But as long as it's clean and tight, you should be good to go. And then I did lie to you guys about this one. If you have the factory plug in here, for if you don't have a lift pump, you'll be using the 1/2 inch extractor to get this out. But seeing how I wanted to block this off because I'm not using it anymore. Sorry about that, I almost knocked my light over so we could see everything. Seeing how I'm using a sump kit for this, I have a lift pump. I no longer need this. This is for your draw straw if you have the factory fuel system, or if your lift pump is drawing from the draw straw, this is your draw straw. So all you got to do is just pinch this and pull it out, and it does seem like it's pretty tight. So I might have to work at this one here a little bit and get this off, and then we got these two off. Or this will just come off really easy. This was not factory made. I made this myself just so I wouldn't have a hole into the tank leaking out. A lot of people just cut this off and leave it there, but I didn't want any hole in there, so I put brass plug in there with one of the special adapters, or the adapters that you get with the Air Dog lift pump, one of the spare ones. So we got that. Let's get these off. All right, I do not know what this is for. It looks like it was a vent, but it's actually closed off, so I'm not sure if earlier Duramax users use it or not, but I spun this over just so you can see the clip. Let me zoom in for you guys here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to pinch these two together. We're going to push the clip down, and then let me get this thing to spin back up for you guys. And then you just pull this right out just like that, and it should come right off. All right, finally, that was an absolute bugger to get off. So all I did was lift it up. With this, I went back and forth, and I just took a screwdriver, popped it out there a little bit, popped it out there, just kind of went back and forth until it actually finally popped. So looks like we got some seals right here. So I'm not going to ruin those, and I do believe they are on the new one as well. Now on to the hardest one, because this one doesn't move nearly as much as the other ones. Let's see if we can't pinch this all in one shot. And this is the actual one that's leaking. So in theory it should all be cleaned out and easy to get out. Alright, there we go. I was able to wiggle it just enough to get my fingers in there. Looks like I'm going to need a screwdriver to push it up the rest of the way, just so we can get at this. Same deal, guys. Just lifts all the way out there. So the first one I did, I actually broke, kind of like this one right here. So let's see if we can get this one out. Well, after trying to do some rework, we accidentally broke it right off of here. So I'll get this off. I will get this off camera, and we'll move on. We'll get this thing out of the way. Take this connector right here. Nice and easy. Just push down right there. And just like everything else, it's going to fight me. Alright, so there's a lot of gunk in mine right here. So what I did was I just shoved a screwdriver in right here, right on the connector, and just pried that up. That's exactly what this thing is supposed to do, but it's kind of all just gunked all up, so I'll probably clean that out before we put it on. Alright, let's take this connector off, and we'll spin this whole thing out. Alright, now that that's all out of there, now for the fun part. You get to pound this all out. Normally what you do is you just take a punch and do that. However, I don't actually own a set of punches, so I got a bunch of extensions that are actually broken. So you're just going to sit here, pound this out till these marks get to right here. And since how this has been leaking for a while, this diesel fuel is pretty close to oil. It should, in theory, come out pretty easy, but with how these have gone, I seriously doubt it. So I'll sit here and work on this a little bit. We'll get that out. That was about 25 minutes of literally just pounding this way, and then going to the next one, pounding that way, and then that way. And as you can see, she's finally broke loose, and we can pull this thing out. If it's rusted just like mine, this thing was kind of a pain to get loose. So let's pull this thing right out. All right, here we are, next day. Everything all cleaned out. Cleaned this thing out the best I could. This still looks pretty bad, but it's pretty clean. I mean, it doesn't look smooth at all, but that's just the tank vat from when you're fueling. That goes all the way up here to your filler neck. Got all these connectors cleaned out. They all look pretty good. Like I said, this was my makeshift just because I didn't want to have the tank open. All right, we're just going to put this gasket on right here. Put the new pump thing in there. Pumping unit in. And then we'll get everything all closed up. All right, now that this all in, nice and good, I got this as tight as I can without actually hitting it. So same deal again. If you have the special tool, it goes in there, just tightens it all up, but I don't have that. So we're gonna hit it like just like this, and we're gonna push that thing all around. I'll do that off camera because it is kind of loud beating on it. So let me get that all in real quick. Now that that's all in, not gonna lie guys, that was actually really difficult to get all in. That new gasket's pretty thick. That's not beat down like the other one. So it took me a hot minute to get it all in there, but we got it all squared away. So all we got to do is just tighten up our put on our hose connections. We should be all good to go. All right, now onto this. Now I'm not 100% sure what this is, but since how there's a hole in it right there and then a couple of gaskets on there that I transferred over from the old one, I believe this is a tank vent. So when you actually start pumping fuel, your tank doesn't implode. So you got air coming in there. So just put that back on all the way. And push these clamps down. They can be a little difficult. So what you can do, if they don't work just that way, push them all the way in. You can grab a pair of pliers, but it looks like that one's going to snap right in. Next, we got this one right here. This is the return line to from your engine. So since how I broke this one out a little bit. There we go, snapped right in. And then this tool, like I say here, I know this needs a little bit of lube because they were a little difficult to get on in the first place. And then this one is my doohickey. This would be the return, or I'm sorry, your main line to going to your engine. So this would be a 1/2 inch. This is 3/8. This is also 3/8, but these got those fancy pliers on there. And then this is a 5/16 or a flathead. We are all set to go. We got to plug in our connector. Let's fire this truck up, make sure we don't have any leaks. Give it a couple minutes, but this is where she was leaking pretty badly and it looks pretty good, but I don't know if it's just using most of the fuel coming in because it is a little colder out now. So we'll give her a couple minutes to warm up and should be returning fuel for sure, and then we'll be able to double check that. All right, we look pretty good. No leaks. I don't see any leaks anywhere. Looks pretty good. We'll put the camera here and do a rev real quick. So we're at 145, which on our dash is, get a good view of that. It's just about it's about as high as it's going to go. So we need to put new thermostats in here, which will be a video that's going to come up shortly. But I think that we are actually in the clear, guys. I don't have any leaks. It's just starting to rain now. So about time to get this whole box right back. So everything looks good. No longer leaking anymore. Those headlights still look really sick. I love looking at those things. I know I keep ranting about that, but what do you guys think about a dump box? I saw Truckmaster do that on that Dodge, and I thought that was a pretty cool idea. I don't know if a 6-foot box would be kind of cool, but I don't know, it looks kind of sweet like that. But it is just starting to rain, so what I think I'm going to do is just probably just cover that all up with a tarp. And got all the leaks now, so with that thing all squared away, we don't got any leaks there. We already put the fuel lines in there last time, and then we took care of the factory filter head. So hopefully we don't have any more fuel leaks. This truck is nice and solid all the way through and through. So if you like this type of content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Comment below if you've made it this far. I would like to know how hard it was for you guys to change that, if you've ever changed one before. It was actually pretty difficult to get that ring on. Everything else came out pretty nice and easy. But I would just like to know. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Peace.